So David Haye had a press conference earlier today to announce his comeback fight, which will be on January 16th at the O2 Arena in London. And the opponent will be an Australian heavyweight by the name of Mori, who has a record of 30 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws with 26 knockouts. Now, with all due respect, Mori is the kind of guy you would expect David Haye to fight coming off a 3.5-year layoff, because 30 wins with 26 knockouts looks good when you write it down on paper, but a closer inspection of Mori's record and you'll quickly see that this guy has never fought anyone you've ever heard of, apart from one name. There is one name on Mori's record you might have heard of, and that's Alex Leapai, who's also an Australian heavyweight. But he fought Leapai over 10 years ago, and that was on Leapai's pro debut, and that fight ended in a draw. Okay, Mori had 5 fights going into the fight, and it was Leapai's pro debut. So that's the only name on his record you've ever heard of. Everyone else has been absolute anonymous journeyman. Guys, I mean, because there's journeymen you've heard of before, but Mori's record is full of journeymen you've never heard of. Again, not being disrespectful, all due respect. And the one loss on Mori's record, again, was over 10 years ago against the journeyman with a lot of losses, and he knocked Mori out in the first round. Mori, I suspect, is not a full-time boxer. I think I'm almost 99% sure this guy's got a day job, because boxing is not a big-time sport in Australia, and even in countries where boxing is still pretty big, like the UK, a lot of fighters work day jobs as well as being professional boxers. So I reckon Mori works a day job doing something else and just moonlights as a boxer. So this is not the guy, or not a guy you would expect to give David Haye too many problems, even after 3.5 years out of the ring. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. And I always felt as soon as David Haye announced that he was going to come back, well, he's announced it a few times, but I've always felt if he does come back and does what he claims he's going to do, which is fight legitimate contenders and earn his shot at the world title, I always felt that he's going to get beat before he gets to the world title if he actually fights legitimate contenders. Mori, certainly judging by his record, is not a legitimate contender, and there's also a lot of footage on YouTube you can go watch of Mori, so you can see for yourselves what you think of him. You wouldn't imagine Mori would be the guy to spring the upset and beat David Haye, but as I say, stranger things have happened. As far as dimensions, Mori is 6'2", weighs about 240, 245, so he's a medium-sized heavyweight, or maybe on the smallish side for today's standards. So it should be plain sailing for David Haye. We'll see how it goes. The interesting thing for me is to find out which television station is going to be showing this fight, because I've seen a few different people make comments and give some contradictory information. So if you've got information about which television station is going to show this fight, please drop it in the comment section below. I've heard some people say it's going to be on Box Nation. Some people saying Haye's got a free fight deal with Box Nation. I saw someone else say the fight's going to be on BBC 3. So I don't know what the truth is at the moment. You let me know. Also, I saw one of the interviews at the press conference with David Haye after the press conference had finished. And the interviewer asked him who's going to be licensing this fight, because his last fight was against Derek Chisora, and that was licensed by the Luxembourg Boxing Commission. And David Haye said, well, it's going to be sorted out over the next few weeks. So it would seem that maybe David Haye don't have his British professional boxing license back yet, and they're looking for someone else to sanction the fight. That'd be very interesting if it's not the British Board of Boxing Control. Maybe that's one of the things that's kept him out of the ring for so long. Whenever it comes to David Haye, you have to know, if you've been watching him carefully over the years, you have to know that it's very difficult to believe anything that comes out of David Haye's mouth. I mean, anything. If you ask him a straightforward question about something fairly trivial, it's 50-50 whether you're actually going to get the truth. In fact, that's probably being generous. David Haye just cannot help himself but tell tall tales all the time. So it's kind of sometimes useless asking him questions, because the guy's never going to be truthful about what's really going on. And I saw that again with a lot of the interviews after the press conference. So let me know what you think about this, people. Some of you won't care, some of you will. Some of you are going to be interested to see what the Haymaker looks like 3.5 years out. A lot of people are saying that this show at the O2 won't sell out because of the pullouts previously. You know, we'll see. Do any of you think that Mori's actually got any chance? Now, I'd mentioned in a video recently that Tony Bellew is a possible opponent for David Haye because he's called David Haye out recently. He says he'll even fight David Haye at a catchweight. If Haye can't make cruiserweight, he'll fight him at a catchweight. He didn't specify what the catchweight would be, but he said he'd be willing to do that just to make it more enticing for Haye. Tony Bellew's got his own fight happening, I believe it's December. So he's got to get past that first. We might see David Haye against Bellew after this Mori fight. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think for the casual fans, and in fact, that's one thing I didn't mention. Fighting a guy like Mark Mori, who has a good record on paper, at least the numbers look good. It's the kind of opponent that David Haye can sell to the casual fans as a dangerous fighter, as a dangerous opponent. And in fact, that's what he is doing. That's what he did at the press conference, talking about the fact Mori can punch and this, that, and the other. So it's the kind of guy he can sell to the casual boxing fans as a dangerous opponent because of his record. And in a similar way, he can also sell a Tony Bellew fight if he chose to go down that road after this Mori fight. If Bellew wins his next fight, I don't know what's going to happen there. But he'd be able to sell Bellew as a serious opponent, or at least an opponent that people would want to see him in the ring with in Britain. Because, as I've mentioned before, Bellew is not that well liked outside of Liverpool. So there'd be a lot of UK boxing fans who would want to see Haye do a job on Tony Bellew and shut his mouth. You know, no disrespect to Bellew, no disrespect to Haye or anything like that. I'm just telling you what the reality is among British boxing fans. That's how it would be. So that's definitely a fight that David Haye could elevate his or mend his public image again. Yeah. He could mend his public image by beating a Tony Bellew. So we'll see what happens after this Mori fight. Drop your comments below in the comment section. Let me know what you feel about this fight and everything I've talked about in this video. Like I say, if you know what channel this fight's going to be shown on, then let me know. And yeah, we'll see what happens with the license situation as well. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.